nose and me through. Inside, the great-grandson of Henry Ford was smiling like a lottery winner. Bill Ford, Jr. had just resigned as the automaker's chief executive officer. "You look happy," House observed as Ford took a long swig from a bottle of water handed to him by an aide. Ford laughed. "You have no idea," he exclaimed, as the world's automotive press shouted into cell phones and pounded away at laptops on the other side of the curtain. "My wife is happy, my kids are happy, I'm happy." The man standing next to him was also smiling as he pumped my hand and slapped my shoulder. A few minutes before, Alan Mulally had become Ford's new CEO. "Doesn't it worry you that the man who you're replacing is doing the 'I'm going to Disneyland' dance?" I asked Mulally. He flashed what would soon become his trademark grin. "You don't know much about me yet, Bryce, but let me just tell you one thing," Mulally said. "No matter how bad Ford Motor Company's problems are today, they aren't as bad as Boeing's were on September 12, 2001. The lanky, gingerbread-haired Kansan was president of the Boeing Company's commercial aviation division, and though few outside the upper echelons of corporate America had heard of him, Mulally was already famous in business circles for having saved the aircraft manufacturer from collapse after the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington 5 years earlier prompted most of the world's airlines to cancel their orders for new planes. Now, Bill Ford was asking him to save another American icon. Ford may have been the company that put the world on wheels, invented the moving assembly line, and created the industrial middle class, but its glory days were long past. Together with General Motors Corporation and Chrysler Corporation, it had been a powerful engine of prosperity in post-war America. For half a century, from the 1920s to the 1970s, Detroit's Big Three dominated the U.S. automobile market, accounting for 5 of every 6 vehicles sold in the country. That market was still the largest in the world, but their share of it had been declining for decades. During the boom years of the 1950s and 1960s, American automakers had grown fat and complacent as new competitors emerged in Europe and Asia, studied their methods, and figured out how to beat them at their own game. That era of easy profit created a culture of entitlement in Detroit that afflicted management and labor alike, inflating salaries, wages, and benefits until they became the envy of the world. Success was viewed as a birthright, not something that had to be fought for and won. As the Big Three's share of the market had shrunk, they had not, at least not fast enough. They all had too many factories, too many workers, and too many dealers. Generous union contracts negotiated in better times had created enormous legacy costs that their foreign rivals did not have to bear. And none of the American companies had the stomach for the radical reforms that were now necessary just to stay in business. Wall Street had begun a death watch, waiting to see which of the Big Three would fail first. Most of the money was on Ford, which had become infamous for lackluster designs, poor quality, and managerial infighting. 5 years before, Bill Ford had taken charge of the company and tried to salvage what was left of its name and his. For a while, it seemed like he might succeed. Quality started to improve. Ford became the first American automaker to bring a hybrid to market, and a few of its products had begun to win praise from critics. But consumers remained wary. Too many of them had bought Fords in the past and were not going to make the same mistake again. Meanwhile, rising gasoline prices were scaring those customers who were left away from the big trucks and sport utility vehicles that were the source of most of Ford's profits. At the same time, Ford found himself unable to overcome an entrenched, careerist culture that resisted all change and put individual advancement ahead of corporate success. In their dark paneled offices, executives plotted ways to undermine one another's efforts, while on the factory floor, union bosses jealously defended their members' rich benefits and scoffed at attempts to boost productivity. A year earlier, Ford had tapped Mark Fields, president of the company's more successful European division, to lead a restructuring of its core North American automotive business. Fields put together a bold plan to cut the business back to profitability by shuttering factories and slashing jobs.